frontier. This is Football Daft with Stephen Purdon,
midfield dynamo and average actor,
Chris Toll,
target man, suspicious character,
and
with the top end of Stevenson, Grado!
Right, welcome to Football Daft, the daftest Scottish football podcast around. My name's Stephen Purdon, and let's welcome the team. First, a man who missed the Rangers game at the weekend as he was too busy watching Little Mix's The Search. It's Grado.
That's absolutely bollocks. I never said that. I never
said that Rangers Daft, haven't I?
No, I never. I never said that. I said I was out on Saturday night. It was rough. I fell asleep. I turned on the Rangers game when I woke up. There was about 10 minutes to go. So I saw the last 10 minutes. But what I'm saying is, you were having a go at me because I never watched the game back. So don't try and twist this up. You were having a go at me because I never watched the rerun it or a recording it. I've not got Sky.
Oh, so, no. My point is, you've not got Sky, but mate, we can all watch the highlights. You can watch the highlights anytime you want. Watch the Rangers TV. You can watch Sports Scene. But you were too busy pledging your allegiance to Little Mix.
Listen, it's a new show. It's fresh. It's exciting. It reminds me of Pop Stars Arrivals. It's got that wee kind of novelty, kind of...
Mate, the Rangers game was a new fixture. It was fresh. It was exciting. We scored 5 goals.
I watched the 5-minute hang on YouTube. I seen all the goals and all that, but I never had time to watch the full 90 minutes because I get tore into this Little Mix programme, which is script me.
How long was it on? How long was the Little Mix show on for Grado?
Mate, it's, right, basically what they're doing is they're trying to find somebody to support them next year on their tour. So the first one was they need to try to find a boy band. Second one was a mixed band. It's like all that over 35s, you know. All that.
So it's X Factor.
It's X Factor with a twist. Because
Little Mix are the judges. Fucking X Factor.
And I've got, it's the same kind of idea. You've got your villain. You've got your villain in the middle. I can't remember her name. Is it Perry or something like that?
Perry Mason.
Who's Perry Mason again? Why am I thinking that? Who's Perry Mason?
Detective.
What's
Perry Edwards.
Right. Well,
Dick Van Dyke kicking a bit.
She's the villain in it. You know, she's all that. You know, we're good, but not today. You don't suit this band. Jess, in the end, she's a light-hearted one. Well, she's a Simon Cowell. Jess is like your Danny Minogue, your Sharon Osbourne. She kind of...
You're Walsh.
So it's just X Factor. Where's the twist?
It's fucking it. Little Mix are like the other stars of the show.
Basically what you're saying is you just want to sit and watch Little Mix for an hour and a half, mate, aye.
I would have had more respect for him if he just said that.
I know, fair play.
Aye, I would have had more respect for him if he just said that, mate. I would have gave you it. But whatever, mate, we know where your loyalties lie. Certainly not a Fir Park, more with Little Mix's The Search. Okay, now moving on to introduce another part of the team. It is a man who this week will be delighted that Bologna have finally signed Aaron Hickey, as it means he doesn't have to talk about him on the rumour mill anymore. It's Chris Toll. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much for introducing me that way. Stevie, Grado, John, when I sent you that video in the group chat, I honestly felt it was like a weight off my shoulders. Right? But what about that video? But is that not the cheesiest thing you've ever seen in your entire fucking life?
It's brilliant.
Have you ever seen a footballer looking as uncomfortable holding a fucking toy under his arm?
I mean, could you just imagine the Italians broken English going, we're going to put you in with the Loch Ness Monster? You'd be like, oh, are you serious? Do you have to? Can I not just hold up the scarf?
Mate, he would be like me and you in Panto every year when he's getting told to do something. We Aaron Hickey's got that. Sounds great, man.
Aye, that's it. Aye. Oh, that's a great idea. Everybody will love
it. He's went in and he's had his debut and he's absolutely fucking smashed it in his debut.
Aye.
Straight in against Parma, a derby match, no less, and never put a foot wrong and get I was going to say a standing ovation, but what a reception he got. I was going to say a standing ovation, they couldn't in the fucking stadium, you see him?
Just the five cunts in the dugout like that, man. Class.
Refereeing that. Well done, Aaron. See you next week, son.
Yeah. Good luck to the boy, man.
Aye, definitely. It's a big step, especially an 18-year-old laddie out of his comfort zone, a whole new country, doesn't speak the language, That's a ballsy move for me. I've got to be honest with you.
Aye. Life experience. He's gone.
Could you have done it at 18, Stevie?
No chance. I'm a homeboy. I could never move away.
Nah,
I'm bad for that.
I don't think I could even move out of Coatbridge, to be honest with you. I'm not even lying.
It is a bit overwhelming, but it's good that it's Italy for them. Do you know what I mean? I think that's, if you're going to go to a country, you know, at least they've got a tidy lifestyle into with the pasta and all that, and the lasagna and stuff. So I think it'll be all right. Never mind. You know, you could be going to somewhere like Cyprus, it's warm, but what else you got to do?
That's like
they've got good tatties in Cyprus, though.
That's like Italian sitting going like that. I mean, the Italian boys made a fucking ballsy move, got to Scotland, but fair play to them. They've got fucking kilts and haggis and all that. Know what I mean?
Fair play to them. Have you ever tried a tatty scone?
They've got bread with a funny crust on it and all that. Fucking, they call it plain bread and all that. Know what I mean?
You ever had a slice of Mother's Pride with Lord Pack? Fuck me.
And you know something? See earlier, man, their sausages are fucking square, by the way.
So that it fits on the Mother's Pride. It's amazing. They've got it sewn up.
He's going to have a tidy lifestyle with a lasagna and a pasta.
But it's like, obviously the first thing I thought he was food, but you know what I mean? It's the Italians who love healthy and all that.
Grado, you're right. He's got it good there with the food and that, but he needs to watch it for the mafia. You know what I mean?
Right, so Trips, this week we're recording ahead of the European games, but the big chat this week in Scottish football is the lower leagues. There's no plans to delay the lower league despite the Highland League opting to pause its resumption until crowds can return. The Scottish Championship, League 1 and League 2 are due to begin in a couple of weeks, but the Highland League is not prepared to start until at least the 28th of November. Clubs in the lower leagues were asked by Scottish Football's joint response group last week how long they believe they can survive without crowds. And there have been warnings from managers and chairmen that clubs could fold before Christmas without crowds.
I think it's really worrying, and also it's a bit frustrating. I know what's happening with the world right now, but if there's anywhere where they could probably introduce a wee bit of normality and help clubs being funded, is getting some fans into the runs, because a lot of it's open space. They don't attract thousands and thousands. I think that's do you know what I mean? Come on, it must be so frustrating, because you know what? That if I heard at the radio at the weekend they're going to try and turn to government for money, man. That's the last thing the government will give money to is football. So,
I think you're right. You're absolutely right in what you're saying there, Grado. However, see the fact that there's no seats and there's loads of space and all that. That is what's going to make people all bunched together. You know what I mean? When you're at the football, you want to be in amongst the crowd. You know what I mean? And with the greatest will in the world, if I went down to Albion Rovers, there's no way that they're going to space people out round the stadium. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd argue with that in terms of families. Everybody that's in your bubble sitting one side of the stadium. It's obviously those. I think if you've got an all-seater stadium, it's easier to regulate that. You know what I mean? It's easier to like kind of space people out and make sure that they're still being spaced out.
The bottom line is, but man, if to space them out, to stop them sitting together, it's just a domino effect. You're going to need to hire folk in. There's going to need to be
COVID marshals and all that.
Aye, it just all boils down to the one thing: money. And
it could end up having a crowd could end up costing them more money than not having a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating.
Come Christmas, man, there's going to be at least 3-4 teams go to the war with this, man. Definitely, definitely, man. Right, guys, Scotland squad has just been announced for the playoff game against Israel. Huh? What do you think?
You love international tournaments, didn't you, Cotto?
I'm the biggest fan of an international tournament that is going. and I know that these fucking games are a necessary evil, but why does there need to be so fucking many of them and so often?
I concur 1,000,000%. It is depressing.
It's taking up a lot of time, innit?
Aye. I mean, it feels like the season can't get a proper run. The season starts. We've already stopped Timpey once. We stop again. It's like, come on, fuck, man. How many internationals do they need? And it's pish.
But surely it's better than, because international are obviously set out by FIFA and all that sort of stuff, but surely playing like the Nations League is better than playing these meaningless friendlies, because there's at least something and it's competitive and there's something to play for in these things. And then obviously we've got the game against Israel, which could get us into the Euros, you know.
See, John, you're going to...
Here we go. This is my lower league mentality. Here's from the old firm supporters.
You're buzzing for the international.
I'm not. But there is the total disparity between old firm supporters, and it's not all old firm supporters, but most old firm supporters don't give a fuck about international football, and they'd rather get on with the.
I just want my players to arrive back home without an injury.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
So da, Chris. So da.
But it's like
the only silver lining for us is the break's coming at a good point. We can maybe get a Rebo back, Jack fit, and Ruth, and I'll be happy with that for the game for the Old Firm as soon as we get back.
I didn't even know that this was happening until you hear the manager say like, "Oh, you should be fit after the international break," and you go, "What? When?"
Ryan Fraser's in the squad and Ryan Porteous is in the squad.
But then also, he's I like talking about all goalies, Robbie McCrory. I wonder how he's doing at Livingston. They were saying he was getting the blame for quite a lot of the goals. What was it, 3-0 last week at Parkhead? And I thought he'd done all right. Robbie McCrory. What the fuck?
They get beat 3-2 at Parkhead.
Sorry. 3-2.
Aye, but he did have quite a good game. Anytime I've seen him, he's always made a few good saves. Because when you're the Livingston goalie, you're going to have to. You know what I mean? During the match, you're going to have to. So he's coming on. He's coming on well.
Definitely.
So Ollie McBurney's back in the squad. So is Lawrence Shankland. Goals in net. I see McBurney. I don't really think he's that great, to be honest. He's in there on the strength that he's playing football in England for me.
I've never really rated him, to be honest. I don't really rate him. I think he's absolutely dynamite on Twitter, but I just don't rate him as a football player. He's good at noising your fans up at times, though.
I only really know him through social media, which is a shame, but...
Well, do you know what, Grado? See the fact that you only know him through social media, that tells you about how good he is at fucking football, doesn't it?
I don't rate him, man. Much did he go to Sheffield United for? They paid a good wad for him as well, didn't they?
I think it was 7.5, I think.
Aye, nah. No, but international break, good luck to Scotland. Hope they get the results. And it would be good to see Scotland at a major tournament. I remember coming home from school, watching it with my dad, France 98, John Collins scored the penalty. The last time we've been there.
10th of June 98.
Right, it'd be great to see them back. It'd be great, but we shall see. And here's a wee question for you as well, Troops. It's 34 years since Fergie took over at Man United. He was there for 26 years, but in a recent interview, he says he only managed 4 world-class players. Can you name them?
I don't want to ruin this segment, right? I've no read it or anything like that, but I'm pretty certain that I could guess who the 4 were.
I think I could as well. I would.
Cantona.
1.
Scholes.
2.
Brian Robson.
3.
No, Giggs and Ronaldo, I'd say.
Well done, Stephen. All 4, yeah.
No, I never got all 4. He took one and I got one. We're done as a team.
Right.
I posted Brian Robson, but...
I did say Brian Robson, but how can he say that Brian Robson wasn't world class? Turn it up, Fergie. What do you know about football?
Right, so on the show today we welcome Big Bad John, his former Arsenal, West Ham and of course Celtic striker John Hartson joins us, and it's Chris's turn on the Legends Lottery, and it'll be a tough act to follow as Gordon Smart last week gave us some brilliant stories. What do you think, Thomas? Oh, he's got the phone out. Look,
oh, you're struggling, to.
The hat's getting pulled back, the phone's out. What do you think?
I never miss a Legends Lottery, man. It's fucking easy. Just get on any cunt all day.
I don't even know somebody that's been a mascot. That's how bad things are getting here.
And talking of Gordon, his father-in-law is Jim Leishman, and so on the big question we ask, what footballer would you like as a father-in-law?
That's a weird question, man.
Yeah, John's fucking been having a few beers and he's been thinking that, man.
It was actually...
Do you know what the good thing is? See, when they asked Neymar this, he just said he's Enda.
But now let's go to the man who has more spies than MI6. It's Chris Toll and his rumour mill. Pause for jingle.
Here comes the rumor mill, and I'm not even trying.
Crystal Palace are poised to test Celtic's resolve to keep hold of Odsonne Edouard with a formal bid for the 22-year-old before the closing of the transfer window. Arsenal and Brighton are also sniffing around on
What's
those
going on there,
Celtic
Joe?
Park.
He's not starting, he's not starting game.
Mate, see the last 2 games when he's come on, he's looked as if he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. Honestly, I don't know what the script is, but as I mentioned before, losing him now for me is no as big a worry, because Ayeti for me looks as if he's going to score goals all the fucking time. He's just that sort of guy. He puts me in mind of Gary Hooper, to be honest with you, and I'm quite excited to see how he does going forward. But you know yourself, you've had it with Morelos since last year. These players are going to be linked away all the fucking time, so you know, I take everything with a wee pinch of salt, to be honest with you, as you should do if you're listening to Chris Toldham. So, Dundee United are keen signing Scotland striker Mark McNulty on loan for Reading. The 28-year-old still out of favour with the English club, and he's on his returning from a similar spell with Hibs last season. Leeds United are looking for a move for 23-year-old Rangers winger Ryan Kent if they fail to land top target Daniel James from Man United. However, last night, I believe Leeds had a bid for Daniel James accepted, a loan bid for Daniel James. So, I think that Ryan Kent rumour can get put to bed now.
That's ideal, isn't it?
Aye.
St Mirren say that they've rejected a substantial offer for fellow Scottish Premiership club Hibs for their captain Kyle McGuinness, who's not played since January after suffering a cruciate ligament injury. St Mirren say that he's an integral part of the club and have no desire to sell the player, which probably means that they're in good stead financially, I would think, as well. Celtic are preparing to do battle with Ajax, Brighton, Hertha Berlin, Leeds and Southampton to sign...
That's some fight, that, innit? That's a fight.
Listen to this one. To sign Ryan Sessegnon. Right, that's no happening, is it? But that's the exact sort of player that we need in at left back, to be honest with you, or left wing back.
Well, they've got bloody Ben Davies, and they've just signed that boy for Real Madrid, so Sessegnon's not going to get a game. He's got to be on the road out, isn't he, man?
He's not going to Celtic, is he? Let's be honest. Rangers remain in talks about a possible move for South Africa midfielder Bongani Zungu after the 27-year-old returned to French League 2 action with him on the weekend, but faced competition from Greek cracks, Olympiacos, and clubs in Spain's top flight and all. Where did that come from? Cracks? What's that all about? Brilliant. Good part there for me. Anthony Stokes could be set to make a move to India to kickstart his career. The 32-year-old is still talks with former Liverpool legend Robbie Fowler about joining him at East Bengal in the Indian Super League.
Is that the league that David Robertson plays in?
That is, isn't it?
Roy, what do you call again? Real Kashmiri?
Aye.
Wow, man. That's a big... Well, we were talking about earlier about Aaron Hickey going to... And that's a big one, and that's a mega lifestyle change.
There before? Or was it Iran or something like that? He played somewhere in the Middle East.
It was Israel, I think.
Israel, fuck's sake.
Right.
Funny talking about the Middle East. We're hearing whispers that a Middle East consortium are looking to take over Dundee United. The group, which is headed by former Airdrie striker Alan Lawrence, were finally initially attracted by the nickname the Arabs. Now looks set to make a multi-million-pound investment, with the first signing earmarked as Bologna's Aaron Hickey. I thought I'd fucking managed it this week, lads. The last 2 words.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Call them now on 01698 767 172.
Right, G4 trips. Remember, if you've been in a road traffic accident, you're not at fault. G4 Claims can make it easy for you. They can provide you with a complete accident management support that you require. They'll recover the cost from the at-fault party, sort out a like-for-like vehicle replacement, and they'll also organise your vehicle to be repaired at one of their approved body shops and returned to you. Should your vehicle be deemed a write-off, they will recover the pre-accident value for your car and write a big fat cheque for it, and best of all, it won't cost you a penny as they charge the at-fault insurance direct. G4 claims don't cold call, they don't buy data, and once they process your claim, your insurance will remain unscathed. And the best thing is, Nicole and the team over there won't take your case on if they don't think that they can help. So if you've been in a road traffic accident, I know somebody that has, go on to G4 claims on 01698 767 172. That's 01698 767 172. Get them at notatfaultclaim.com or find them on social media at G4 Claims Limited. G4 Claims.
Not at fault
claims.
The Legends Lottery on Football Daft.
It's the lottery where you win fuck all aside for the knowledge that you know that the likes of Brian McPhee, Kieran McInnesby, Scott Walker, you find out what they're up to. It's a Legends Lottery.
I've got it Sunday.
No, you've no, man.
I fucking have.
Right, yeah. Because what that happens is each week we try and get a former hero to come on the show. We've been doing pretty well. I've obviously missed a few shows, so I've missed a few guests, should I say. So my ranking is very, very low. Bob, you're out in front, 23.4. You're looking good. Chris on 17.2. I'm on 12.5. But Toe has been biffing out all this show because his Legends Lottery pulled out. And I've told him, look, just get empty, man. Empty all day. So, who have you got, Toe?
Right, let's find out how Gordy done, first of all.
Let's find out last week, because now that I know that Toe's he's struggling here with this Legends Lottery, I'm getting a wee bit excited that I could maybe eventually take her on the results. Connor, is it out of 5?
You could do alright, because Gordon was very popular. Obviously had some absolute brilliant stories about Martin Geisler, Stephen Graham, Noel Gallagher, Jim Leishman. It was all in there. So
very controversial, wasn't it, John?
It was very controversial, some of the stories that were in there. But Gordon scored really highly. A lot of people say we should get him back on as a main guest. Get stories. 4.6 Grado.
Fucking hell.
So that takes you just a point below Chris. 17.1 you're up to, Grado.
Wow. So if Toe misses somebody this week, if he gets nobody on, then is it next week I'm on? 2 weeks?
I'm on next week.
I can't wait for a fortnight's time then, man. Toe, what's the deal? Where you got?
Well, I'm going to put it out there. I had a very, very, very good guest. A very good guest. To the point where John messaged me and said, listen, mate, I don't want you bringing him on the Legends Lottery. I want him on as a main guest.
He said that on Rangers Daft, mate. He said that.
Right. Now, he's fucking dinged me, hasn't he, the cunt? Right. Honestly.
You're the feeling, mate.
I had him and Grado going nuts at this one, and you come on, it's a belter. I'm counting up my 5.0 score for next week. So I messaged him yesterday, I said, it'll be good for tomorrow. No response. I thought to myself, right, he's a busy guy, understandable. I said, listen, mate, see if you're not good for tomorrow, can you let me know so that I can organise somebody else? And now I didn't want to organise somebody else without his say-so, because I don't want to fuck the guy about, basically. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even get back to me on that.
Name and shame him.
Well, this is the deal, because I know it's an awkward position where you go, I don't really want to put him in it, or you go, I want to keep him for a surprise.
I understand what you're saying, but see, if I tell you who it is, people are going to think that I'm trying to bad mouth this guy.
No, don't then.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, because I do want to get him on the show somewhere down the line, right? And I don't want anybody thinking that I'm talking bad, and I don't want him thinking that I'm talking bad about him either. So basically, I've got somebody that can come on, but they can't come on now. That's the problem, because they're working. We're filming this at 4:30 on a Wednesday afternoon. Everybody apart from us 4 are at their work. Do you know what I mean?
So you need to come on. You need to be on the button with this stuff, man. I've been put in that position before. Do you know what I'd do if I was you? I'd bring on John or something like that. John, how you doing? Welcome to the Legends Lottery. How long have you been doing podcasts? Come on. You always need to have somebody up your sleeve.
John, do you want to be my guest for the Legends Lottery?
Let's welcome John to the show. Use him.
Right, yeah, I'll be your guest. Hi, everyone.
Well, let's produce
Wait to introduce you. Right, Toe, before you agree to this, remember, I mean, I shouldn't be doing this because John will end up getting a high rating here.
Right.
Fans, if you're listening and John comes on and Hickey's talking shite, please rate it as how you feel.
Right, so I've had to go to the back burner and pull out a legend that everybody that watches and listens to the show will know. This guy is an institution in Scottish football. He's interviewed people from all over the world. He's been on the radio. This guy is just, honest to God, I owe quite a lot to this guy. I do. And I want him to know how much I appreciate him and everything that he's done for me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Football Daft, my legend for the week, Producer John.
Fucking hell. Toe, you've hit the bottom of the fucking barrel now, have you know?
Listen, see when you're talking about yourself like that, you expecting folk to fucking give you a good score?
No, but right, aye. Fair enough. Right, okay, boys, what
John, how long have you been doing this kind of work?
Well, Stephen, thanks for asking that. I've actually been in the
Tell us, he's a brief rundown of your career.
I've been in the radio podcast business for about 20 odd years now. I started my career at Beat 106, working alongside...
Remember Beat 106?
Beat 106?
Yes. I worked on the breakfast show there with Des Clark and Heather Sutty. Remember her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Heather, yes.
Legends.
I then worked with Paul Harper and Des Clark, and then I worked as head of music at XFM when Beat 106 changed to XFM.
You were head of music at XFM.
Head of music
that was my go-to station.
Well, there you go. I was the one picking the music on that. And then after that, I went down to Real Radio. I went and worked on Gina McKee's Late Night Love. And I was,
Late Night with Gina McKee.
Yes, and I produced the Love, Sex and Relationship show on Clyde One for a while.
Big fan of that.
Scotland. And then I went down to Real Radio in Newcastle, where I was worked in the Newcastle version of Real Radio down there.
That when your love of the Magpies became...
Yes, I started supporting Newcastle when I was down there. Came back up to Scotland, worked on Bowie at Breakfast with George and Shaban, and then I moved over to Heart and Smooth, and now I'm doing podcasts with you, Ballbags. So there we are.
So what footballers from all over the world have you interviewed?
I've not interviewed any footballers.
I told what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? You've been part of shows that have had these people. Don't be a dick, all right?
I used to work...
I want to ask you, John.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, John. How does it work when you go from Beat 106 to XFM and they go like that? Fuck, man, John, producer John, his contract's running up, man. Let's bite while the iron's hot and all that. Let's get him and the team, sign him up. Does that work? Is that how it works?
While the iron's hot, man.
Bites an iron.
It's like a bosun. It's like a bosun. I did.
It's like a transfer one day in the radio game where
that's it.
You've been hooring it a bit, John. You've been hooring it.
Listen, I've been
the Jim Hamilton on the radio.
I'm pretty much like the Jim Hamilton on the radio.
A journeyman.
I did work on Super Scoreboard. Produced the Saturday show there with DL and Jim Delahunt and
right. So you're telling us that you're doing a show with Gordon DL and you've not been able to get him on our show yet? Come on, John.
Could probably get Gordon. I'll tell you a story about Gordon DL.
How do you go?
There was a charity. You do the Cash for Kids charity auctions on Super Scoreboard when you get all the bids in and all that sort of stuff. So I was producing that. There is a bike, it was worth about £1,000 came in, and no one was bidding on it for some reason. You know, it was one of these things. And I was like, what a belting bike is. Listen, I'm going to put in, no one was bidding it. So I thought, I'll put in 200 quid, 250 quid for it.
You look like a big guy.
Yeah, I said to DL, this is what a deal this is, because no one's bidding it. I want to give money to the charity and it'll go to waste otherwise. And he went, but that's really good, yeah. Do you know what the bastard did?
Outbid you?
Outbid me at the last minute and put in 270 quid and took the fucking bike.
But John, that's brilliant. But here, listen, you must have came across like bands coming into the studio and all that. Come on, who geez about? Because you're the one that's always putting out the dirt on Twitter on people. You want to know like things that.
And you know what? Listen, Trips, you are listening to the show, right? There's some stuff that we've said that we've had to cut out. Our guests have said that we've had to cut out, right? And John holds no prisoners. He argues the point that it should be getting kept in. You know what I mean? So, John,
he's a hack.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You must have come across some absolute belters in your
Come on.
Oh God, aye. I mean, I've met a lot of quite famous people across the years. Robbie Williams, Charlotte Church, Dave Grohl,
Dave Grohl,
Calvin Harris, Usher, all these kind of people. Paolo, Amy Winehouse, met Amy Winehouse as well. Had a fag with Amy Winehouse. Got mistaken for a member of The View once.
I smoked a joint with Snoop Dogg once.
Did you?
In your fearless pub?
Did you buy you
my dad's pub in Compton.
Oh, did you get you some squeeze after it?
I know, but
Again,
I've had a good
I regale you with a true story and you fucking rip the living piss out of me. Do you know, I'm going to stop telling you my stories anyway. Right, so John, who's the nicest celebrity that you've met?
The nicest celebrity? I liked Charlotte Church. She was dead nice. She said to me, I made the best cup of tea ever.
Aye. There you go. John, listen, we're going to cut this short because let's
Thank fuck.
Shite.
For picking up the slack for me, mate. I really appreciate it. And I was being honest when what I said at the start. I'm really grateful for what you've done for me, and I appreciate you. And thanks very much.
It's all right. You can keep your job, Chris. That's fine.
Do you know what? Fuck you. See if you can't be nice to somebody. Go and take a fuck to yourselves. They're sitting there laughing at me, and I'm giving them some heartfelt emotions, man. You know what I mean? You just are a pair of dicks. I love you. These are a pair of dicks.
Sure guess.
I'm never coming on this show again.
Anyway.
Football Daft's big question.
Right, troops. This week, the question has been inspired by last week's legend, lottery guest, Gordon Smart. Remember he was going on about Jim Leishman?
Yep.
Gordon's fair-in-law. Remember Jim Leishman? Some crank stories, weren't there? Some right.
It was superb, man.
About the Provost of Fife, including how he ended up in Spearmint Rhino and got a number for a lady called Destiny. Sounded like a cracking night. Anyway, we wanted to know if you could have a footballer as a father-in-law, who would it be and why? Grado, I'll come to you first.
This is a hard question. Who you would want as a father-in-law?
Fucking stupid question.
Oh, don't talk to your fucking Legends Lottery guest like that. Oh,
Sorry, John.
Sake.
Thanks for everything you've done for me, but
well, my girlfriend's father, he was a Drossen Winton Rovers manager, and he's brand new, so I'll just stick with him now.
That's a good answer.
I'm going to go for Jerry Pellini.
Mate,
seemed like a great guy. Seems like he'd make a good father-in-law. But I'll be honest with you, the father-in-law I've got in house sound as fuck, so I better just leave it at that.
You've got to go for one of your heroes, haven't you? You'd love like someone like
I'd go with McCoy.
Or Ken McCoy.
Ali McCoy, man. I've always said, man, could you imagine if he was your father, never mind your father-in-law? Wow, man.
Wow.
Going out for a beer with him on that, good.
Aye, going for a beer with a father-in-law.
Then I suppose it doesn't work out like that, doesn't it, no?
I don't know. Maybe
What are you laughing at, too?
Mate, I'm having a look through some of these comments for the punters. And
Let's go then.
Hey, let's
made me piss myself.
Go, take it away, Toe. Go the first one, go.
So, first of all, we've got John. He's come in saying Bertie Auld. We have great stories of his days being a Celtic player and being part of the Lisbon Lions, also having a good drink and a laugh with him.
It's funny, man, that a lot of these answers are going to be they're good to go for a drink with, innit? It's like...
I bet there's one. That's a fucking topper, man.
Right, let's go, right.
Stephen Thompson, just like every other father-in-law, talks one load of pish.
Lol. That's brilliant.
Right, next one we've got here is Bert, who says Messi, because you'd be minted.
Fair enough.
What, are you going to get money? Is that the way it works?
Do you know what? That's the society we live in, Graham.
Shocking.
What are you talking about, Grado? You're living in your father-in-law's house at the moment.
I know.
A big mansion.
Talking a little bit about the game tomorrow. I want to see them Barry's going all right at the back.
Right.
Craig says Ali because it would be some fucking laugh.
Alan says Gordon McQueen, no real interest in his stories though. More that'd be with his daughter Hayley. What the
Alan says, the dark guy says Brian Laudrup so I could inherit his genes and be a beautiful bastard, right? The dark guy, your father-in-law, you don't inherit his genes.
Exactly, I know.
Right? I don't know how things work in Ayrshire. So it's, maybe have a wee word to yourself about that one.
Joe says Marvin Wilson because I'd never tire of listening to him telling me about the only goal of the game he scored for the Glorious Diamonds against Celtic in the League Cup at the New Broomfield.
That's a good shout. Davies wrote in to say Alan McGregor because at least then he's not going to shag my bird.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Get them now at notitfaultclaims.com.
Football is a short career, but what if we could wind the clock back and give some of the UK's favourite ex-pros at one more go-around? Yeah, one last match. Who would they choose as their teammates? Who would they pick as their gaffer? What stadium would they want to walk out at one last time? That's what we asked to club legends like Jason McAteer.
I finished my career and there's always that feeling I had that I always wish I'd won something with Liverpool. We should have won the Premier League. We should have won a trophy.
John Hartson.
So I think back and I think, I've never got over that, losing that night.
Emil Heskey.
Going to Birmingham and it just wasn't the same. They wasn't confident enough in their ability to actually hit that pass. Mm-hmm. But Steve was just going bang, bang. And it was great to play with.
Season 1 is coming soon to Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now and see why it's never too late for one last match.
One last match with Who Knows Wins. Put your money where your mates are.
It's time for the Pro Set playoff on Football Daft for your chance to win a case of Beer 52. Sad news, gentlemen. This could be the last one.
What, the last podcast?
No, the Pro Set playoff. This could be the last Pro Set playoff.
John, I'll send you the other cards. It's for another season, but.
Oh, good. Well, we might start again, but Beer 52 are going to take a wee break from us. So listen, if you would like to sponsor this feature, you can get involved, get in touch on the Twitter, and all you have to do is give us some product to give away, and we can keep this going. Otherwise, it could be the last one. And on to play for the case of Beer 52 this week is Kevin.
How are we doing?
How you doing, Kev?
Man, how's it going, mate?
Good, guys, good. Cracking show as
Kev,
well.
I'm sick of the sight of you, mate.
I know, mate. It's like, well, best mates, not, know what I mean?
Kevin was our previous pundit on Celtic Daft. Remember, if you want our bonus podcast, get onto patreon.com/Football Daft. Always selling.
The best one.
Always selling. Brilliant, all of it.
You were on the money there, John, weren't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we know Kevin from Celtic Daft. Kevin, do you know the rules for the Pro Set playoff?
Yep, I do.
Right, 91, 92, Pro Set cards in front of me.
You got a notepad there, Kev, no?
My college stuff, mate. My college stuff.
Oh, right.
Take a wee break for his college work to come on Football Daft. Mate, I like it.
Absolutely.
Just out of interest, I know you said after the year you go to college for chefing and stuff like that. What do you need to study? Just like knives and flour?
The new I'm studying allergens.
Oh, that's a big hang in it. Nuts.
It's like, I'll get my own restaurant. I don't want somebody killing air and getting a lawsuit, you know what I mean?
Aye. So, mate, basically, you're sitting there, at the moment you're studying a matter of life or death, mate. It could be.
Just call me off.
I tell you what, Kev, see, once you get the restaurant up and running, your restaurant can take over this portion of the show, right? And what we'll do is we'll give away a free meal every week at your restaurant, right? That sounds good. You only need to pay $4.95 for the postage.
I'll pick a free dessert and all.
So, Pro Set cards in front of me from the 91-92 season. We've shuffled them. I'll pick out players at random, read the description on the back. The first person to buzz in and get the right answer gets a point. First to two wins. But first of all, I need to hear those buzzers. So, Kevin, what is your buzzer going to be?
Since we're talking about food, I'll just say food.
Food, excellent. Right, okay. We'll draw out someone for you to play, Kevin. Who do you fancy today?
Listen, all the guys are decent, so they'll probably beat me anyway, so anybody will do.
Oh, what a lovely guy, Kev. If this is the end of this segment of the show, we're going out with a banger, a gent.
Here we go. Let's draw the name out. Who you support against, Kevin?
Kev, you only need to look at the name, Kevin Devine, I think you know.
If you're watching the video version of this, you'll see all the Celtic tops hanging up in the background. And it's Celtic versus Celtic. It is Chris Toe playing.
That's a bummer. He'll do me.
Here we go.
Confirm one as well there, Kevin. So, case of beer on the line. What's your buzzer, Chris?
Chris.
Right, okay, we've got Chris versus food. All right then.
That's a TV show waiting to happen.
So, first player out of the Pro Set playoff deck. This person was the top scorer at Broomfield Park last season with 20 goals. Despite Chris.
Owen Coyle.
Former guest on the show, Mr.
Oh, you're at it, too.
Well
Nice
done.
one.
Look at his serious eyes, look.
Are you sure he's not got a set of these cards, Santa?
1-0 Toe. Here we go, Kevin. Let's get you back in the game. Oh, cracking player, this one. This player returned to his hometown club during the coast season from Chelsea after playing 5 seasons at Stanford.
Grado.
Chris.
John Spencer.
Wrong.
I know who it is.
Keep playing, right, we'll keep playing. He made his Falkirk debut in 1983 and appeared for the Bairns 64 times before signing for Chelsea in 1985. He returned to spend a period on loan at Brockville Park during season 1987-1988. This player is a speedy winger who can cross the ball with accuracy.
Oh, I know who that is.
Wait, flip the card over, Kev, so you can see him.
On you go.
I know who it is.
That's the player.
Nah, that's not who I thought it was.
No, I can't even see.
What's that player, man? What's that player?
God.
No,
That player's God.
Kevin McAllister.
Punchy.
Crunchy, absolute legend.
I'm sitting here going, Pat and Evan. Pat and Evan. Pat and Evan.
Was it a Chelsea thing, mate?
Aye.
That's why I said John Spencer.
Right, here we go. Next player out. This is for the win for Chris. Do you need to get on the board here, Kev? Hopefully one of you will get this one. This player debuted for Celtic in 1982 and is now in his 11th season. Within 2 years, Chris.
Paul
he's jumped too early. Who is it?
Paul McStay.
Paul McStay. We're not giving away the beer this week. It is Paul McStay.
Hey, do you know what? Since this is the last week, you can have the beer, Kev.
Oh, that's nice.
Best pals.
Would you if he was a Rangers supporter, Chris? That's the big question.
Aye, man. It's the last week. What are we going to do with them? They'll go out a date.
That's true. That's very true.
That's the right week to come on there,
Right, but Kev, what you've got to do is, right, see with one of these bottles of beer, you've got to make a meal, right, with one of the bottles of beer and let us see what you make.
Definitely.
Excellent.
He's on it. Have you studied beer recipes? Is that a wee... That'll come next, I think.
A wee ale stew. That'll be nice.
Ale stew, that's right. Well done, John. 10 points.
So remember, if you want Beer 52 and you can cook with it as well as drink it, get on to beer52.com/daft. The offer is still up there. You'll be able to get a case of beer for just £4.95. And remember, Beer 52, a monthly subscription service for beer. Source great beers from across the world that you can cook with and drink. Small batch breweries, they've got lots of good beers in there. So get on board now, beer52.com/daft. Get your first case of beer for free.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Find them on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at G4 Claims Limited.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to Football Daft a man who scored goals for everyone from Arsenal to Wimbledon to West Ham and to his country Wales. He moved to Scotland in 2001 and became an integral part of Martin O'Neill's side, scoring one in every 2 games, and won 3 titles, 2 Scottish Cups and a League Cup, as well as Players' Player of the Year. It's Big Bad John Hartson. What's happening, John? Thank you. I'm buzzing,
mate. All good. I'm
buzzing here. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm high as a kite, man. I'm buzzing for this one.
I think me and Grado could get a day off. I think we're going to be in Edgeways.
This is your day, Cole. This is your day.
This is it. Finally, it's all built up to this. I had Murdo McLeod a few months back. Now I've got John Hartson. Brilliant.
Hey, Frank McAvenny as well. Come on.
Oh, aye, but
thanks,
we all wanted to hear the shagging stories for Frank, didn't we? So that was a get.
Did he give you any?
No,
no, don't be silly.
I know. He's very wise, Frank. He's very sensible now, isn't he?
Aye.
Wears his cards close to his chest, or somebody else's chest, depending.
So how's things been, John? How you been getting on, mate? You been all right?
Things are all right, mate. Yeah, things are okay. I've got my family here. I live in Edinburgh now, just outside Edinburgh. I've got 5 children, four daughters and my son. But my youngest 3, live here with myself and my wife. And I think a lot of people think, they think of John Hartson and they think, he lives this big, extravagant, lifestyle and everything else. But I very much don't. I'm from a very humble background, from a council estate in Swansea, like a lot of us are from council estates. Yeah. And I genuinely, that's what I like to do. I look after my family. I do my work on the weekend. I've got a little bit of work this year with Sky. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing out my own podcast next week.
Oh, wait a minute here.
Who's getting on the bus?
This is an ambush. This is just a big advert for you, Hartson, isn't it?
No, it's not. I must have done about 30 podcasts during lockdown.
You have? I've noticed that.
A guy rang me last week, Grado, and he said, look, John, he said, why don't you just do your own? And I'm like, well, I never really thought about it, but I think podcasts now, especially with the lockdown and everything else, and people have to stay at home and work at home and everything else, and, you can't travel big distances, and I think people are listening to podcasts now more than ever these days.
Oh, definitely. I think it's taken over. See the likes of your Saturday Night Live and maybe watching Jonathan Ross on a Friday night. People now are going on podcasts. That's where to get your interviews, and they're longer. You don't need to worry about tele companies and what you're saying, any restrictions.
They're a lot more natural.
Aye.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think radio was a lot more personable anyway than television. 100%. I actually enjoy doing the radio actually more than being on the television, to be honest with you. My mum always said I had a good face for radio anyway.
So how's Sky doing? How you getting on at Sky, mate? How's all that going?
All right. I've always, since I retired in 2008, I had my health to cope with, obviously testicular cancer spread to my lungs and onto my brain, and it was something that I needed to get stronger. First of all, I needed to get through that horrendous period of my life where, I was really under a lot of pressure at one stage. I was lucky to come through because I'd been so ignorant of the lumps on my testicles. I allowed the cancer to spread from testicular cancer to my lungs and onto my brain. So at one stage, I needed 2 emergency brain operations, and after that, then you go into a chemotherapy program. You've got to get yourself stronger. You just hope then that everything stays away, not a case of secondary and things come back and reappear. So I was very blessed in terms of being given a second bite at life, really, and it's totally changed me. It's changed me as a personality. It's just the simple things in life that I respect and appreciate, to be honest. Time with my family, time with my friends. You realise who your friends are when you're going through that difficult period. Yeah. All the players and all the teams and the supporters I'd met over a 20-year career, there's probably only about 4 or 5 that were actually around my bed. And no doubt they spared, they were thinking of me and everything else. But you do realise and you put things into perspective after that. And that's what I've done. It's changed me immensely, my experience with cancer.
Brilliant. So it's one of the ones, mate, obviously gives you a kind of different outlook, and you feel like you've got a second chance almost.
You do feel as if, you learn from the way that you were, and you appreciate the fact that you've got a second bite at it. Mm. And, for a child to go through life and lose a parent and things like that, I was thinking how it would affect my family if I was to go. If I was to lose my life, how would it affect them going forward with their lives? And, there's lots and lots of things, and we all want to live. We've all got reasons to live and go on and have bright futures and be healthy. It's the one thing that nobody wants is a long-term illness. So, you look at people like lots of people like Doddy Weir at the minute, and obviously Fernando Rickson, who I played against. Really nice people, gentlemen, and Doddy Weir's fighting motor neuron disease, and it took Jimmy Johnson as well, passed away through, and you think to yourself, you moan about the weather and this, that, and the other, and as I said earlier on, you moan all the time, people about things, but ultimately, when you put it into perspective, if you've got your health, that's all you need. If you haven't got your health, pretty much so, then it's obviously not a nice experience. So I was very blessed to have come through my personal battle. And as you said, it's different for me. It's different now because I don't want the extravagant stuff. I've lived a nice life. I've been able to travel, and I've been able to play football for a living. But now it's just a case of just living ordinary and looking after my children, dropping them down at the schools in the right times. And I nip down to Wales and I nip down to my local pub in the village. And that's what I do. I don't mix with footballers anymore because I'm out of that circle, if you know what I mean. It's to look after my family and stay healthy. That's all my goals are, to be honest.
I'm really interested in what you're going to do in your podcast, John. Have you got an idea? Is it all set up? Is it going to? Can you tell us a wee bit about it? Because I'm interested.
What it is, Grado? It's
a good excuse to do the other podcasts, isn't it? Can't have the main podcast.
It is. I don't know a lot about podcasts, to be honest with you, but there's a gentleman called David McDonald, and David used to work for Ladbrokes. He used to be the guy that used to organise all the Ladbrokes sponsorship and everything with the Scottish Premier League and the SPL previously. Obviously now it's the Scottish Premiership. But he approached me and he basically said, "Look, we'll get it all set up." He says, "You know an awful lot of people." He said, "Why don't we start sort of building up a podcast for you?" He says, "You can get some great guests." And what I basically said to him was, I only want to do it if we go away from the Celtic thing. If we don't just do Celtic. Celtic players, I love Celtic. I've got a Celtic tattoo. I had a wonderful time there. Celtic is a huge part of my life. But I want to do this as I want to bring in Celtic people, Celtic guests, Rangers guests. One week I want to bring a surgeon in if he'll talk to us about health and everything else. I want to maybe even take a man off the street and just talk to him, see where he is, see what he's up to, because that's the type of person I am. I'd rather listen to a man off the street who's had a difficult time lately than listen to a superstar, to be honest, because I'm not really overly, into stars and everything else. So
I totally agree with that. I've always said, podcasts, I want to talk to a binman. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's your life as a binman? And tell you, and how do you fit watching Fitbit in? And what do you have for your lunch? I love all that stuff.
Well, Grado, the bins get collected in the morning and the football's on at night. So.
I mean, I want to know somebody that's done it all their days and the stories that they've had with bins. Just wee random things like that. I think that sounds...
We get a lot of the football stories, don't we? We've heard a lot of them. We've heard them after dinner talks and hospitality lunches. We've all been, and they're great. Don't get me wrong, they're enjoyable, they're good fun. But I just wanted it to be not so much about me, because my story's out there. It's been out there a million times. Just about I want to give something back, and with the people that I know and the characters that I've met. For instance, my first guest, I'll tell you, but my first guest on Tuesday is Jackie McNamara, simply because. Jackie's doing all right. Yeah, he's doing okay, actually. So we're doing it on Tuesday. Obviously, we'll have to record it, and then the guys will edit it. I don't know when it'll be showing and everything else. But Jackie's a great guest for me because I've roomed with Jackie at Celtic. We both, recently, Jackie, more so than me, has had his health problems as well, and he's come out of it with flying colours. He's doing well again now. Good. He had a testimonial at Celtic. He was let down by Gordon Strachan when Gordon Strachan sold him to Wolves, and he brought in Paul Telfer. So there's lots of things I can ask Jackie, but more so than anything else, I'm just going to ask him how he is. Right. How he's getting on, how is his wife, how is his children, and all this sort of stuff, And again, that takes it away from football. I know we're both footballers, and there's football fans out there, Celtic fans, will want to know the football stories. We'll touch on that. But more so, I want it to be more personal and let the guests just talk away. Just ask them a question. It's going to be difficult because, as you know, I like talking. Just let the guests talk. And that's why I think it'll be more interesting than anything else. I'm just taking it away from the Celtic and the football and the Arsenal and the West Ham, all this sort of stuff. Because life, to me, football was a huge part of my life. But you go into training at 9 o'clock in the morning and you finished at 1. So that's 4 hours a day.
Aye.
What do you do for the other 20?
Yes.
Go to cruise and get yourself some new Prada gear.
Yeah, absolutely. But all joking aside, it's like 20 hours of the day you've got to live.
Aye.
And then you've got to obviously organise your home. You've got to be happy where you are. The children play a big, massive role. All these things, football, obviously then that's every day, but the other 20 hours of the day, people tend to look at you, oh, you're a footballer, you train, you've got a great life. But if your life isn't right, when you finish away from the training ground and you're training, then the pitfalls are there. The bookies are there.
100%.
You know, the pubs, Grado, the pubs are there. The bad characters are there. You know, the hangers-ons.
Everybody wants to hang on to you, man. If you're playing,
everybody wants a piece of you. I am got a Welsh jersey to my name. I won 51 caps. I've given them all away.
Aye.
I've got a son now who's asking me for a shirt. I've got to say, I am got a shirt. So during my career, I give it all away. You know, I'm just saying, because I don't really have things up anyway, you know, pictures of shirts and everything else. They're all hanging up in Swansea and bars and pubs and everything else. But
it must have been difficult for you, John, because obviously, like, back, like, touching on your career, like, you were, like, when you went to Arsenal for Luton, you were the most expensive teenager at that time, weren't you?
Yeah.
How did you cope with all that? Like,
I was in a bubble, mate. I was in a bubble. And I always say to young players now, I try and say to them, look, take everything in. Everything you do, every game you play, every experience, take it in and embrace it and enjoy it. Because it happened to me so quickly. At 19, I became, you know, a teenage sensation. I went to Arsenal for record money, two of Britain's most expensive teenagers. How many teenagers in Britain play football? Exactly. And I was worth the most, you know. And then I went to West Ham for big money. Then I went to Wimbledon for record money. Then I came to Celtic for £6 million. So then big price tags followed me around everywhere else. And with big price tags become big pressure and big headlines. You know,
see with those big signing on fees, could you buy back some of the jerseys and give your laddie one of them?
I could probably get hold of one, mate. I know what you're saying, and that's a nice thought, nice thing to say. I could probably get hold of one if I needed to. My son's doing all right. He doesn't go without, you know. But as I said, it's just, you know, things I used to do, boots and buy tickets for friends to come into grounds and this and that. And it just puts it into perspective now when I've been living in Edinburgh for 4 years and I've been retired about 11 years. And you just wonder, your phone doesn't ring quite as often anymore. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because I think sometimes you can have too many friends. I've got 2,000 numbers in my phone, but there's probably about 5 or 6 in there that I could really say, do you know what? Spend a bit of time with him. I really like him. I trust him. And trust for me is second only to health. You've got to trust. If you're going to go on with somebody as a mate and everything else, trust to me has always been, you know, the number 2 thing after my health. Where there's no trust, there's nothing, you know.
Well, that's a big part of your career as well. What trust that you've played under a lot of managers, obviously throughout your career, John. Did you have that trust in George Graham when he brought you into Arsenal?
Well, what happened with George, strangely enough, was George signed me, and then obviously I started to play with Ian Wright, who was the England centre forward, and then George got the sack after about a month because he took a little bit of a backhander off a Swedish agent, I think, or a Norwegian agent. and he lost his job because of that. And apparently he gave the money back. So if he's going to get the sack, what's the point of giving the money back? You'd have kept it, wouldn't you? But, so George was sort of a short spell, really. I didn't really get to know George that well, although he signed me for the football club. George Graham's a legend at Arsenal. I think he's one of only 2 men that have won the double as a manager and a player at Arsenal. A great disciplinarian, Scotsman. So I didn't get to know George that well. And then it was Bruce Rioch for a spell. And then I worked under Arsene Wenger, who was just, he was just phenomenal, Arsene Wenger, the way that he just changed everything and made the players just, he got that little bit extra out of the senior players as well, the Tony Adamses and the Steve Bowles, the Martin Keowns, the David Seamans. They will tell you now that you know, just listening and adapting to what Arsene Wenger was trying to teach them, they did that. They tuned in, and they say themselves now that Arsene Wenger put 2 or 3 years on top of their careers at that particular time when they were almost on their way out. But Wenger coming in, you know, give them a new lease of life, you know.
John, I want to ask you, because we're going to be talking about Celtic, but you've probably, as you say, you've been doing loads of podcasts through lockdown and you've probably covered it a million times, but take me back to when you turned up at Ibrox in the Wimbledon top. I remember it as a wee guy. I remember being buzzing. I remember looking at the paper going, this will be a great signing.
Yep, same. I was shiting myself.
You remember it? Just like
I was shiting myself, man.
Aye, it was just, I was so excited that we were going to sign Big Bad John Hartson, and then what happened?
What happened was I didn't have a favourite Scottish team. I'd only been to Scotland once in my life, and that was on a pre-season tour with Harry Redknapp and West Ham. 1997, we played in a testimonial at Ibrox, lost 3-0, and we played Celtic as well at the time. And that's the only time I'd ever been to Scotland, ever, in my life. And I had no allegiances at the time. I was playing for Wales. And Mark Hughes came to see me, the Welsh manager. He says, John, I think I'm going to have to leave you out this weekend of our game. We were playing Estonia away, which I thought, not a bad game trip to miss anyway. It's a long old way, Estonia. And he said to me, we've had a telegram coming to the hotel that Rangers have bid £6 million for you, and they'd like to sign you. And Sir David Murray is sending his private jet down to Cardiff Airport. You've got to go and get yourself ready. You know, we'll allow you to miss the game this weekend for us. This is your career. All the best. Now, for my dad, who was on 30 miles down the road in Swansea, my dad made his way up to Cardiff. We got a taxi into the airport, and then it was the private jet. We flew up to Glasgow. We're in Glasgow in 40 minutes. I was met with a load of press at Glasgow Airport. I think I was equaling what they'd spent for Ronald de Boer. Ronald de Boer was actually signing on the same day. So we take it into Ibrox, and I'm walking down the side of the tunnel, and I'm getting ready to sign for Rangers. I'm playing for Wimbledon at the time. Also, I'm with the Welsh team, but Wimbledon was my club team. And Ronald's he's in the centre circle, in the middle of the pitch, with his Rangers scarf like that. So I've gone, Ronnie! And he's looked over, and I've said, give me 2 minutes, we'll do it together. We'll pose together for the pictures or whatever it is. So he said, yeah, no problem, great, you know. So I was up the tunnel, I walked in the dressing room to the left, and Kanchelskis was there, Albert, Bomber Brown, and they're all high-fiving, oh, what a signing, we can't wait to get you on board, John, and everything else. So then I get ushered off to go for a medical. I had one scan on my knee, and then I come straight back. I think it was in Ross Hall, somewhere in Glasgow city centre. I had a scan. I was half an hour away in the car. They'd got the scans. And then I'd also agreed with Sir David Murray upstairs in one of his offices, a 5-year contract. I'm signing. All I had to do was pass this medical. So then I got to the hospital, did my scan, X-ray, everything else. And I'm with Dick Advocat in one of the offices downstairs, away from David Murray's big sort of office and everything else, and all these mahogany chairs and the big table, the chairman's office, of course. So I go downstairs, I'm sitting with Dick Advocat, and we've got the contract there, and I'm just waiting. And his fellow Dutch doctor came in, and he said, "Look, I'm really sorry, Mr. Advocat." He said, "We can't do the deal." So Dick Advocat's, what are you talking about? You know, John's here, he's ready to sign. And then they just basically pulled the plug. They said, "We can't do the deal because there's something showed up on John's knee that we believe, you know, he wouldn't get through what we need him to get through in terms of the training and the games." And I was 26 years of age, prime of my life in terms of my career, scoring goals, you know, down south, representing my country. And I had Man United talking about me. I had other clubs I could have, you know, been interested with. And then within 10 minutes, I am back on the plane and I'm back down to Cardiff. And I basically failed the medical at Rangers because of a knee. And then I'm not being, a lot of people said to me over the years, "Oh, John, they got you up there. That was just a publicity stint. It was this, it was that." And I genuinely believe that it wasn't. I genuinely believe that the physio come back, the Dutch doctor, and he must have saw something in the knee that sort of prevented them going on and doing the deal.
Did they never show you what it was or anything like that?
No, they never showed me, nothing like that. And what was a little bit pleasing for me was I went on from there 6 months later. I did a pre-season in St Andrews with Coventry, with Gordon Strachan. And what was pleasing for me more than anything else from a personal point of view was I went on to make 220 appearances then for Celtic. Martin O'Neill signed me for £6 million. I flew the medical and I made 220 appearances. I played more games for Celtic than what Ronald de Boer did for Rangers. I scored more goals than Ronald did at Rangers for the same money. And I never missed a game. I never missed a training session because of this so-called bad knee. And the Celtic fans used to say to me, as they would, "When you score, John, run to the corner and rub your knee to the fans. That'll cause the riot." But I never did that. I never did that because I just wanted to by scoring and by playing was enough to say, well, you got that one wrong, you know. But what is unusual is, well, not so much unusual, but what I try and say is that, you know, I would have been a Rangers player because I had nothing against them, you know, during that particular time. I had no allegiances to Celtic. I hadn't experienced an Old Firm game, and I would have signed for Glasgow Rangers had they, you know, pursued with the medical. But, you know, that upsets one or two Celtic fans, but it's common sense. If I hadn't had any interest from Celtic and I got to go, and I had no allegiances again. So, but you know, sometimes you just think things happen for a reason, and maybe it just wasn't meant to be. It's one of those things. But that is the gospel truth, and that's exactly in detail how things panned out.
Like when you moved to Celtic and you see Larsson's there and Sutton's there. How daunting is that for you with they two there already, and you know you need to fight for a place to get in there?
Well, the year I got there, 2001, they just previously won the treble.
Aye.
And Henrik and Chris had formed up this unbelievable partnership, and they won the treble. And I think they scored 66 goals between them, you know, and I've got to go in there, upset the apple cart. I'm one of the record signings. I think the record signing was 6.5. I think there was a couple of us that was 6. And I haven't come to sit on the bench. I haven't come to mess about here. I want to play. And for the first 5 or 6 games, Celtic did very well. They were winning, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to get in this team? But luckily for me, Chris Sutton and his professionalism and his, you know, he was such a great professional, great player. Chris, he said it was okay for him to go and play in midfield and play in the defence. And once I got in the team, I never came out. I never came out for 5 years. I had 2 back operations, but I was a constant player in that team. And I always say, maybe with Hartson, Larsson and Sutton in the one team, we're obviously much stronger than one of us sitting on the bench. Well, Henrik was never going to be sub, and Chris either, really. But Chris was, you know, he could play in a number of positions, really. He had a great engine. And, you know, luckily for me, he said that, fine, you know, I have a lot of respect for John. Let John and Henrik play, and I'll drop into midfield just off the front, or I'll go and play centre-back. And we had a great spell. We had a great spell together at Celtic, as you know, the UEFA Cup final and all the trophies and everything else. And it was a brilliant part of my life. But it was daunting, but I had to get in straight away. I had to get in the team. And luckily, I had Martin O'Neill who believed in me, which gave me that chance.
Right. You caused me a few heartbreaks the other years, John. I won't lie.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I had a good run. To be fair, I had a really good run against Rangers. I think I scored the winning goal in 4 consecutive games.
Oh, I remember, mate. I remember.
So, and it's just one of those things where you hit it off, and you know what it's like. Those are the games that you endear yourself to the crowd. You know, those are the games where, and it's not just Glasgow. It's everywhere. It's Ireland. It's North America. It's New York. It's Canada. You know, Celtic and Rangers fans all over the world. You know, clubs and everything else. So when you win them games, they're a nightmare when you lose them. You don't want to get your head off the pillow. But when you win them, everybody feels it. Not just the players, the managers, the staff, the kit man, the tea lady, the supporters abroad that tuned in. I think it's shown in over 300 countries, you know, this particular game, Celtic Rangers. So when you get the winning goal, it's obviously very pleasing. And that's why at that particular time, and even now, I have a great affinity with the Celtic fans.
Right.
Well, and you see how you were talking earlier about you have a wee bit of regret about how you looked after yourself when you played. Did you talk to us about that? Like, what was your issue? I love talking about stuff like this when it comes into folk being unfit. Not that I'm saying you were unfit, right? But what you could have done better. Like, I know I'll always look back on my wrestling career and going, I should have got in a good nick, but I never did. So
but Grado, see if you take that away for you, you're taking away a lot of your character.
No, I know that, but it still won't stop me for later on in life going, why did I not just put in the hours in the gym and watch my diet and stuff like that? And it's good to hear from somebody else that, you know, you said yourself, you wish you looked after yourself better.
Well, first and foremost, I was fit. Aye. You had to be fit, otherwise I wouldn't have survived. I wouldn't have played the games. And you've got to be fit to play in Gordon Strachan's teams, because Gordon played till he was 39 and he based his emphasis on his players with fantastic fitness. So I was fit. But if I'd have gone through my career a stone and a half lighter and I'd really knuckled down, done extra, watched my food, watched my drinking, because I loved the pint. I loved the pint with the lads and everything else. And nowadays, players don't drink. You know, they go and have a couple of shots or whatever else. But it's maybe where I came from, Grado, because I'm from that area where I collected glasses in my local social club for a £5 on a Friday and Saturday night. My mum and dad be playing bingo and at the end of the night, my mum be having, you know, my mum would play bingo, my dad would be in the bar. And the only time they'd see each other was at the end of the night in the hall for a slow dance. You'd have all the boys, or you'd have all the men in the bar, and you'd have all the women in the hall, you know, and the men would come in to watch the show and everything else. And that's why I'm a little bit old school in that sense, you know, when I go to a Bathgate or whenever I go and I go to social clubs and everything, I'm in my oils there. That's what I like, because that's the way I was brought up. Mm-hmm. You know, the little pool table in the corner, jukebox, everything else. That was me.
Aye. Rather than going to a nightclub, it's so much better, isn't it? Just sitting with the audience, getting a pint and talking away and talking about the news and all that shit. That's the best times.
I done all right in nightclubs. I went a few times, you know, but no, I didn't miss out on anything. I've got to say that. But when I say that, Grado, I just think maybe tuning in a little bit more and obviously appreciating where I was, you know, and the level of career and the level of teams and the games I was playing. I was playing Champions League football. That is for the elites. You know, I played for Arsenal, double winners, and West Ham with Rio Ferdinand, and these guys playing for Wales with Giggs and Bellamy and Hughes and Rush. So I was at the elite level. I reached the peak of my career, 51 caps senior level for my country. But I still believe in my own mind, if I tuned in and just looked after myself, maybe not gone for that pint, maybe been a bit lighter, I could have got around a bit more. I could have jumped higher. I could have lasted longer in games where Martin was bringing me off after 75 minutes because I was done and I'd already scored a couple of goals anyway. So he was quite pleased. I could have just gone on, and that's when I say that. But let's not get away, carried away, and think that I was unfit and I couldn't score goals and I couldn't get across people. You look at my videos at Celtic, 110 goals. You don't score that amount of goals if you.
I've never got the math.
So I was fit, but it's just myself. I just feel I could have gone a bit higher.
John, you were responsible for my mom winning hundreds and hundreds of money, right? Because she used to, like, touching on what Grado says, she used to say, I just love Big Hartson, he's just a big cuddly guy. I just love him. So she would put 20 quid on you every week for the first goal. Right? And honest to God, I think down to you, I've had a few holidays and stuff like that, mate. So like, you were kind of like a housewife's favourite kind of thing when you were at Celtic as well. You must have got some offers along the way, surely.
It's steady. My wife's got to watch this, But no, as I said, I was just very normal, and a decent fella. 5 kids now, and as I said, I don't have an enemy really. I'm supposed this. People say to me, John, who did you dislike? Who do you really hate? And I don't really hate anybody. I really don't. At the end of the day, football is. I appreciate, both sides, Celtic and Rangers. There's a lot of rivalry. There's a lot of passion. Wouldn't go as far as saying hatred. I would just say, passionate, and that goes years and years gone by. Goals and winning games, and this player and that player were favourites. They weren't so much favourites. They kicked somebody. They left a bit on that player when he was there, and that. You're always going to get that, but I do enjoy the rivalry. I've got a lot of good mates. Grado done work for my charity. Always turns up. He's a great supporter of the John Hartson Foundation. I've got good mates who are Rangers fans. And they often say to me, John, you're a good lad. We can go out with the wives and have a nice meal, but you do appreciate on Saturday when we are playing against you, I'm going to give you pelters for 90 minutes. And I'm like, well, fine, I can appreciate that, but
that's what it's all about, though, man. That's what you
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at a table at John Hartson's golf night. You're sitting. Neil Lennon on one side and the goalie Andy Gorham the other. We're all just talking away. It's brilliant. I love all that kid on here on the story.
That's the way it should be. Yeah, I think charity. It's whenever there's a funeral. God bless the people that we've lost. I remember the great Billy McNeil and everything else, and some of the Lisbon Lions. They used to. I think, and the same with. Walter Smith, Ali McCoy, John Gregg, they carried Jimmy Johnson's funeral in from the cortege, outside Celtic Park. And, I think when it comes to charity or someone's life, then I think football becomes secondary,
Absolutely. See, touching on getting back to what you were saying about you're doing your podcast now, John. You've been doing a bit of punditry for a while now. Me personally, as a Celtic fan, I quite like listening to you because you tend to see the positives, right? But there's a lot of ex-Celtic players who do punditry that don't seem to have a good word to say about the club. Obviously you're not going to divulge any information or anything like that, but when you're given that role, is there anybody that comes into your ear and says, listen, you need to touch on these points or anything like that? And it does tend to, I think the boys will probably agree as well, Grado and Stephen. There's pundits that do it in the other direction as well. But I tend to find people like Andy Walker and Chris Commons are really negative towards Celtic at times. And I don't know whether they've got an axe to grind. I don't know if they've got an axe to grind with the club, maybe how their careers ended there. But it's what do you think it is that makes this come out of these people?
I don't know. I can't really speak for Andy Walker, and Sky appoints him. Andy's been working at Sky now for a long time. Chris comments. I think he still has a column, but I don't think he does a lot of Sky these days. But I can only speak for myself, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm doing a Celtic Rangers game, which I've done many of them, and there's a blatant penalty, say for instance Rangers, and I say that's not a penalty, then I've got my producer in my ears saying, what bleeding game are you watching, John? That's not good for me. And I think the genuine Celtic football people that are watching the game at home will also go, John's bang on there. Chris Sutton does it very well. John's right there. That was a penalty. And I think sometimes when you duck out of them decisions, it goes against you. Because the Celtic fans, they see through that, if you know what I mean. Right. So first and foremost, you've got to call it as you see it. Yes, my allegiances are with Celtic. Chris Boyd's allegiances will be with Rangers. Ali McCoist's allegiances. But when you're doing a game, you've got to be honest and you've got to call it as you see it. I've got massive respect for Celtic. I love the supporters. I can't go anywhere in the world without meeting any supporters. And I don't think you last. Especially on the television, if you're not sort of down the middle and calling games as you see them, And people know who you support. And the companies try and balance out the studio. They try and put a Celtic and a Rangers man in there to balance things out and to balance the commentary and the debates out and things like this. So I can only speak for myself, and I try and call it as it is. I've been doing a lot of media work now. I don't know how long I'm going to keep doing it because I've got other things that I might be looking at doing this. I think we all get a shelf life in certain things, and there's younger pundits coming through. There's editors changing. There's producers changing. There's players retiring from football. They all want my job. They're articulate. They do their prep. They're good looking.
Don, we're exactly the same.
That's what it is. Yeah, it changes, and I think you've got to evolve sometimes. Do you know what I mean? You've got to evolve. You've got to have something, in the background that if that stops, you can move into that, and it all doesn't finish there. And I'm starting to be at that position now. To be honest, I've done an awful lot of travelling for the last 13 years. I've done some big shows for the BBC, for Setanta, for BT Sport, and I'm still doing a little bit with Sky and the radio, this and that and the other. But I just think I'm 45 and I've been doing it a long time. I don't know if I want to be doing media when I'm 50. So who knows what's around the corner, do you know?
Aye, definitely, man.
That's what I was going to say. We kind of feel the same way. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for nearly a year now together, and there's people just starting up their own podcasts willy-nilly, you know what I mean? It feels like everybody wants their job, John.
I just want to take part. I don't want to take over. I'm not being rude. I'm really enjoying this, but I get my kids at 3:30.
Yeah, right.
So I can do a couple more, and then I got to get out of the house. My wife's in Glasgow.
I tell you what we'll do then.
I'm here on my own, my little fella. Here she is.
Oh, you get one as well.
That's a beauty.
I got two more questions.
I tell you what we'll do then. I tell you what we'll do then, John. Every week we do a quiz.
Right, John. So every week on Football Daft, we want to put our guests' football knowledge to the test with our 90-second quiz.
Okay.
And after last week, we've got a new leader on the board. It's John Sutton, who's on 15. We've got Mark Wilson, Keith Lasley, they're tucked in behind with 14. The good doctor, Kenny Duker and Harper are just behind in third place with 13. Other selected scores include Barry Ferguson on 12, Murdo McLeod on 10, Marvin Andrews on 5, and Falkirk manager David McCracken still at the bottom with 1. Is there anybody there you want to beat?
I want to beat them all, but I probably won't.
Right, mate, so we'll get 90 seconds, right? You can't pass. You must give an answer, okay? Right, producer John, there 90 seconds on the clock?
There is.
Right, here we go, John. Who is the current manager of Hearts?
Robbie Nielsen.
Aaron Hickey signed for which Italian club?
He signed for Perugia.
Who currently sits top of the Scottish Premiership?
Rangers.
Who did you score your 100th Celtic goal against?
Okay.
Name one of John McGinn's footballing brothers.
I know. Played for Hibs. Paul.
What league are Stenhousemuir currently in?
Scottish Division League 1.
Who is the current manager of Swansea City?
That would be Cooper.
How many goals did you score for Coventry?
6.
Who do the Shire share a stadium with?
Oh, Oldham.
Name 2 of the 3 sides who have started the English Premiership season with 3 wins out of 3.
Time!
I'll let you answer it though, John.
So say it again.
Name 2 of the 3 sides who have started the English Premiership season with 3 wins out of 3.
Everton and what else was Bennett?
Liverpool and Leicester. you only had to give
Leicester.
You only had to give us 1. You got it
right.
right.
I didn't have to give us 2.
I think you 2 till you.
Oh fuck! Sorry.
Aye. No,
How many did I get?
Act there, know what I mean? No pals act, you know what I mean?
How many did I get?
Right, John.
Right, wrong answers. Stenhousemuir currently in League 2. The Shire share a stadium with Falkirk, and we'll give you a half point for the last one. So 7.5 points, John.
Well done, John. Well done.
That's not too bad, man.
John, thanks for giving your time up and coming on. I really appreciate
cheers
it.
All the best.
All the
Thanks,
best, John. Good catching up with you, mate.
Thanks very
Yeah,
much.
pal. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Football Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Get them now at notitfaultclaims.com.
Boys, I need to tell you about a new podcast. It's new to the Audio Frontier family, which I'm producing. You boys will love it. It's called One Last Match. It's another football podcast, but it's a wee bit more serious than this one. Basically, what we're doing is, you know how like pros end up playing their last game of football, and it's like they don't realise they're playing it. Like John Hartson, for example, who we've got on the show today, ended up at West Brom, but didn't realise it was his last game of football. Well, basically, it's like getting these ex-pros and getting them to do, if they could redo their last game of football, it's getting them to do that.
That's cool, man. Do you know who'd be perfect for that? Do you know who'd be perfect for that? I would love to know the story behind Ali McCoy's last game at Ibrox. Rangers, I think, were winning. I don't know what they were winning, if it was 1-0 or 2-0. And this was his last game, and Bobby Williamson was the manager. And Super Ali was warming up, 88th minute. You're like, get him on for his last ever game. And he never put him on. That
was that for Kilmarnock as well?
Yep.
Aye.
Do you remember that, Bob?
I remember it, mate.
That was insane. Why he never put him on?
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah, so basically we give the chance for these ex-pros to go away and like do it again. So they get to pick who they sit beside in the team bus. They get to pick their starting 11, their formation. They get to pick what team they play against. They get to pick what stadium they play it in. They get to pick what manager they want in the touchlines for them. So
That's
they get to relive the last game again. It's a guy, Mark Benstead. You would have seen him on Sky Sports. He does
Aye.
You see him pop on Soccer Saturday. So Mark's presenting it. We've got some amazing guests lined up. Actually, John Hartson's one of the guests that we've got on it, funnily enough. But beyond that, we've got the likes of Stuart McCall for the Rangers supporters. Stuart McCall's on it. We've got Gary Pallister, Emil Hess. Gary Pallister. Frank Sinclair's on there as well, and Jason McAteer as well, all reliving what they would do for
John, this must be about a year in the making, because I remember going to 4 and I remember you were talking with Mark Benstead. That's mad that he's officially going to go ahead with that. That's cool.
So it's a year. Yeah, it's been a year. It's been a year in the making, and it's going to be really good. So that's out next Wednesday, where you get your podcast. You can subscribe and get onto it now on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get it. We're also on Twitter at One Last Match, and on Instagram and Facebook as well. So get us at One Last Match. Brand new podcast from Audio Frontier coming next Wednesday. So get stuck in.
Right, troops, good show, nice insight to Big Hartson's lifestyle and all that. Good to see he's healthy and over the worst state and all that. Good
By
show.
the way, he looks better now than he did when he was playing football, doesn't he?
Aye, he does. He looks good, man. He looks good. Aye.
It's good talking to John Hartson. He does well with his charities and stuff like that, so it was a good conversation. John, I think, but exceeded any expectations that we'd ever have if we ever got him on the show. An absolute star. Absolutely delighted of producer John to come on and tell his life story about how he made fucking Charlotte Church tea and that kind of shit. Good stuff, man. Good shit.
probably
shit.
the best Legends lottery we've ever had.
No,
there.
man.
I mean,
Fuck that, man.
But
Definitely a legend.
But Troops, great show, big European night for both sides of the Glasgow tour tomorrow. So we shall see how it goes on, and we will speak next week. Oh,
whoa!
So,
yes,
big love story.
What about it?
Well, you told us. Did you not say once? I can't remember.
Lads, how long have you been sitting here for already?
I've got a Big Brother story since I've been on the Legends Lottery. Aye. I'm mates with Eugene, who was runner-up.
Oh, Eugene!
From back in the day. I'm mates with him.
Oh my god, man! He was like a pure kind of
geeky guy.
Look at Chris lining up because he's googling Eugene now.
No, I know who he is.
Yeah. So I'm mates with Eugene, so I can give you a Big Brother story because, aye, there you go.
I don't know. What one was he the runner-up in?
Aye, it was.
The one with Cozy in it. The one with Cozy in it was the boy who Stuart that won it.
Big Brother 6, Eugene. How did you meet him?
At
a fucking Star Wars convention or something?
No, I worked beside him. It was
a Saved by the Bell reunion.
Anyway, Saved by the Bell's coming out next month. Remake it.
Is it?
Not a remake, but 20 years later, I think Slater and Screech and all your.
Well, how was it filming it, man? Was it good?
I don't like Screech for Saved by the Bell. Jesus.
You don't do it like Screech.
Dustin Diamond here up there. Dustin Diamond.
Right, Troops, I'm going to boost. Right, all the best.
Wait a minute, we never get John's Big Brother story.
That's all right. We can save it to next week.
All right, okay.